We've seen recently a disturbing rise in racism directed at Asian people. The shooting incident in Georgia a couple of weeks ago brought this into a new extreme light. But this isn't just an American issue. According to the recent University of Toronto report, anti-Asian discrimination is on the rise in Canada, with reports of discriminatory incidences more than tripling over the last year. Wow. Well, to talk more about this is our good friend, Dr.Merry Lin. We have all benefited from her wisdom and regular teaching segments on this show. And Dr. Merry helps so many people realize their purpose and find joy in life. She's a clinical psychologist, and her podcast, The Fully Lived Life, is one of my personal favorites. We welcome Dr. Merry today to gain insight from her regarding the rise of anti-Asian discrimination. Welcome, Dr. Merry. Great to see you again.
So good to see you, Lorie. Thanks for having me here.
Well, this is an important conversation, and we really value your insight, both personally and just the wisdom that you offer. And I just want you to tell us honestly, Mary, what was your experience like growing up as a little Asian girl in Canada?
Yeah, well, without giving away my age, I grew up in the 70s. So I would say our family was pretty much the only Asian family in the neighborhood. We grew up in the suburbs in North York, and we grew up Christian. So we went to a Christian school, kind of quite a conservative one. And I don't remember seeing other Asian families in that school. So that was kind of the experience coming into Canada.
Mm-hmm.
When I look back, it just felt like that's just the way it was. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm looking back, I realized that there was shyness, social anxiety, all sorts of things that kind of came into my life because of not exactly knowing how to fit in. Mm. I remember I would have been in grade 2 or 3, walking around the playground with my sister, and we were holding hands, and I kept on wanting to play with all the kids that I saw playing, and we'd stand there and wait to be invited in. It just wasn't happening. Now, at that time, I didn't think, oh, it's because I'm Asian, I'm not being invited in, but I definitely felt like I was an outsider. So it was rough. But at the same time, we've had some very funny, happy memories. I had a best friend who was from a Scandinavian country, and so she wasn't particularly adventurous, and we ate everything. Anything that you can cook, we ate. Yeah. And so I learned not to tell her what food actually was. So I'd say, just try it, it's delicious. She would eat it, she would love it, and then I'd tell her, that was chicken heart, sorry. So we had some fun that way too.
Well, you're
and
still
just exploring the differences in our culture.
You're still eating adventurous, I'm telling you, which I love about you. We are, yes. Though. I mean, thank you for sharing your honest experience growing up, the good and the bad, and the difficult. But we're very saddened to hear of the rise of anti-Asian racism and some of the tragic events that have taken place, particularly the shooting and murder of Asian women at a massage parlor in Georgia. How are you processing all that's been happening lately?
Yeah, it's been rough. Yeah. I think things have been brewing in me for some time. Part of it is because my daughter and I had hoped that this generation would not be experiencing racism like I did growing up. So when she started to share about some of her experiences through university, and she's in the arts world, how that's for her, I started to think, and so it just was starting to stir in my spirit. Then, of course, with the George Floyd incident and his murder, I just felt so much angst, but didn't quite know what to do with it. So when these shootings happened, it just felt like everything came to a head, and it felt more personal, which is interesting thing to say because it didn't happen to me personally. I didn't know the women, but it made me start to reflect on my experiences growing up and just all the things that I tolerated. I mean, part of how I coped in coming to Canada was just to try to fit in. You may have heard of the term model minority. I think it came about because as a culture, we just learned to keep our head down, work hard, don't make any noise. try to fit in. And fitting in meant, for me, becoming as un-Asian as possible, just to try to fit in. I lost my language even. I raised my kids not necessarily knowing their culture because I really just wanted to fit in and I wanted them to fit in as well. So I feel a lot of sadness over that. And the other part too, I think, is one of the Asian beliefs is around fatalism. And I don't necessarily believe that because I'm a Christian, but it kind of infuses our thoughts. And it is around the thinking that there's nothing you can do, nothing's going to change, so why try?
Right.
So just make do, get through, try not to cause a wave, try not to rock the boat.
Right.
So that was kind of my stance, and that's kind of how I was dealing with it. And I didn't realize how much my people pleasing, my being overly polite and respectful and nice came from just dealing with racism. So it's
Right.
pretty subtle.
Yeah.
The other part is that I just felt I've been so fortunate. Canada welcomed my family. We've had opportunities. So who am I to complain? So I just tried to minimize it, downplay it. And when this happened, it became, oh, I think this is a lot more serious than I've given it credit for.
Right.
People are dying for this. Yeah, so it was really sad.
Well, you know what? Thank you for sharing that because I think sometimes I look at you and many of my Asian friends and see such a respect that you carry. So sometimes I acknowledge I'm learning. What I'm learning is things can be underneath that we haven't acknowledged. And let me ask you a question. Mary, tell us, how is your faith? How is God speaking to you in these times?
Yeah, actually, very significantly. Part of my prayer has been asking the Lord, what can I anchor my soul in? I know that you love me. Help me really hold on to that. And so the passage that he's been giving me that I've been really meditating on is on Psalm 37, verse 3-7, in the Passion Translation, which I absolutely love. And it says, keep trusting in the Lord and do what is right in his eyes. Fix your heart on the promises of God, and you will dwell in the land, feasting on his faithfulness. Find your delight and true pleasure in Yahweh, and he will give you what you desire the most. Give to God the right to direct your life, and as you trust him along the way, you'll find he pulled it off perfectly. He will appear as your righteousness, as sure as the dawning of a new day. He will manifest as your justice, as sure and strong as a new day sun. Quiet your heart in the presence and wait patiently for Yahweh.
Wow.
So that's just been so life-giving for me.
That is beautiful. What a great reminder. And I thank you for taking time to share your own personal experience, but also to give us that insight. I think it's a time of learning and a continued time of paying attention and leaning into other stories. Thank you again for being with us. We so appreciate it and love you.
Thank you.